Coming up next on Global Perspectives, I will be joined by Bettina Zoll-Johnson, a parent in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Stay tuned. Welcome to Global Perspectives. I am your host, Karen McDonough, Manager of International Family Outreach Programs under the Office of School and Family Partnerships. My guest today is Bettina Zoll-Johnson, a parent in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Hi, Bettina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
I am well, very good. I'm really super excited to have met you through the International Parent and Community Leadership Academy, and I can't wait to learn about your experiences there and a little bit about you. So I always start by asking our parents or my guest a little bit about themselves. I do know that you were born in Germany,
Yes.
so I always like to learn something. How do you say hello in German?
Hello would be hallo.
Hallo?
Or hallo,
Okay.
just with an A. Or if you want to be a little bit more formal, you can say Guten Morgen in the morning or Guten Tag during the day.
Okay, good morning or guten tag.
Yes.
But hallo, and see, I thought it
Hallo.
was going to be something a little bit more complicated.
No,
Okay,
pretty
beautiful.
easy.
So knowing that you are German, you were born in Germany, tell me a little bit about the educational system in Germany. You know, how old children are when they start, what can, what will the children's educational career look like?
Gotcha. Okay, so there's some similarities to the American system and some differences. School starts when kids turn 6 and they start in first grade. Kindergarten is a German word, but it's optional, it's not mandatory.
Oh, okay.
So they start 6/7 depending on when their birthday is. Elementary is somewhere from first grade to 5th grade/6th grade, and then secondary straight after that.
Oh.
The reason why there's differences is because, like in Germany, same as you have states here in the States, we have Bundesländer, and there's 13 of them, and then there's 3 city-states similar to DC.
Okay.
And all of them are a little bit different in their rules and their regulations.
Okay, so it's not as uniform across the
No,
entire
it's
country
not.
as it is for us. And you said like primary and secondary.
Yes.
So here we have elementary, middle, and high. But
Right.
here it's typically just, I mean, in Germany it's
Yeah.
typically just 2 levels.
Right.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So with the secondary, there is, after elementary school, they go either to Realschule/Hauptschule, or they're going to Gymnasium. Hauptschule, Realschule, they finish after 10th grade, and then Gymnasium would be up till either 12th or 13th grade, once again, depending on the Bundesland that they're going
Okay. So those kids that go to the equivalent of 10th grade, are they kids who could then also go to college, or are those for maybe that plan for
Vocational
students, more vocational
to.
school?
Yeah, so like after 10th grade, if they want to go to college, they would move over to a Gymnasium for the other 2 or 3 years that are left.
Okay.
Or they're going into what's called an apprenticeship, like vocational school, and that's 3 years of on-the-job training as well as schooling.
Oh,
Technical
okay.
school.
And is that all funded by the government? It's all public education, or depending on what you choose, what the technical program
Right.
is?
So the technical program, you're actually on the job and you're getting paid while you're doing that job.
Oh.
And then you're going to school as well. So, and once again, it's different for each school or profession. Like for example, I did an apprenticeship in hotel and catering, and that's for 3 years. I actually moved to northern Germany to do that. And we started out with working for 4 days a week and going to school 1 day. And then they switched it to a block system where we would go to school for a month, and then we would work 2 months, and then we go to school for a month, and then work 2 months.
Okay. And so because you're getting paid, is part of that payment the schooling? So you don't have to pay additional
No,
for
you're
that
not
schooling.
paying for the schooling.
Okay. And is there a difference, or what does it depend on if a child goes for 12 or maybe that 13th year? Is it depend on what they want to study?
No, honestly, that's, once again, it's the Bundesland that decides that. Like, for example, in Berlin, where I grew up, it would be 13 years, but I know
Okay.
that there's some where they're done after the 12th year.
Okay. So that's interesting because you said the children typically start in first grade
Mhm.
where they're already 6.
Right.
And so when I'm thinking, oh my goodness, a child that's only been through 10th grade and they're 15, but no, they're probably closer
Right.
to 17
Right.
at that point. So maybe families
Gotcha.
are like, you know,
Yep.
okay, you're 17, you can begin working
Right.
and all of that.
Like,
Okay.
well, the rules are a little bit different in Germany. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's quite a bit more independence.
Mhm.
Like, I know the question comes out later about transportation, and I can
Okay.
go
So
more into
no,
that.
but that's interesting that you touch on that because it is. I mean, my family, we lived in the Netherlands for a very short amount of time, but it is something that I think is probably uniquely European, that because there's so much more access to public transportation, that children learn to use the system a lot earlier on. So we can touch about that again. Getting back to schooling in particular, you know, whether it's elementary or the secondary, something that I think is always important for our viewers to know is how many other countries view learning another language much more differently than we do. So can you tell me about how that is in Germany?
Yes. So we learn our first foreign language in elementary school, depending on the Bundesland. It starts between 3rd and 5th grade.
Okay.
Some go as early as 1st and 2nd grade. I actually looked it up yesterday.
Okay.
Most of them are going with English first, but there are some that start with French first and then move to English in 7th grade, which is usually when kids pick a second language.
Okay. So does it demand, I know a little, obviously the geography of Germany, does it depend on just the student's choice whether they choose English or French, or is it again a Bundeslage thing?
Right. So I think for the first language, it depends on where in Germany. I'm sure in West Germany, when they're closer to the French border, it will be French.
Okay.
But for the second language, they get a choice. For example, they can choose either French, English, Latin, and some other.
Okay. So it's interesting because as you say, their second language, that would be the third language, right?
Right.
So that is something that I think the American system is hopefully trying to catch up. I know in our particular system, it used to be for many, many years that you didn't learn any foreign language until you were in high school.
Right.
But now that is moving down to the middle school years, and we have several schools that have the EEE program where they are actually, you know, including foreign language as part of that. But I think it'll be a long time before we expect or assume that kids are going to have 3 languages by the time they're in high school.
It's been a learning curve for us as well. Like, I usually, like, my firstborn, I call her like my practice child because like I learn with her the American school system.
Yeah.
On top of that, we were a military family, so we moved from Colorado to England and then came back to Maryland.
Wow.
And like in England, the DoD school, they actually had Spanish on the elementary level.
Yeah.
And then we moved over here, and we had to break to her that no, there would be no Spanish going into elementary school here, and then in middle school.
Then she could pick it
French.
back up. Okay. All right. Very, very interesting. Where you go to school in Germany, does it depend on where you live, or do parents just have a choice? I like that school and I want to go there.
A little bit of both. So they are neighborhood schools similar to here, where the kid can walk or ride the bike. And same as here, like, you know, the elementary school level is much closer to the homes, like the apartments, and then high schools, like the Realschule or Gymnasium, they're a little bit further away. There's an option to go to private school. There's also an option to have like advanced schools if your kid is more advanced and gifted, but they would then be further away, and it's depending on the parents then to provide.
Okay, so there is a local school that is always a good choice, but if there is other choices for parents to participate in. And can you tell me a little bit about what a typical, you know, maybe even like the length of the day? Do schools typically start, again, it probably depends on the area, but what might a typical day look like for a German elementary? Let's start with elementary.
Okay,
elementary
so,
kid.
well, they're actually similar, okay? So we start earlier, we start between like 7:30 and 8:30, and then go up to like most of the time to 2. In secondary level, it could, so first period starts at that time, and then sometimes they have a 0 period, which is before that, so they might start schooling at 7, or it might go like they have another period afterwards till 4 o'clock.
Okay.
But in general, it's somewhere between 8 and 2.
Okay. And do schools, public schools in Germany, provide lunch and breakfast like we do, or do kids always bring their own? Or?
More so on the elementary level that they might have a cafeteria, but mostly like kids bring their food from home.
Okay.
The another big difference is like that there's more breaks in between. So you would have like, for example, you would have 2 periods and then you would have like a 20-minute break. Have another 2 periods, then you have like your lunch break, and then you might have another 2 periods.
Okay, so it's not the what I don't. I think kids here get like 3 or 4 minutes
Yeah.
between classes.
Once
Very
again,
different.
learning curve. I'm like, how? What? How is this possible? Yeah.
Yeah. So we make it work.
Right.
We touched a little bit briefly on transportation.
Right.
So I'm guessing no school provided transportation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once again, like if your school is in your neighborhood, you walk or you ride your bike. Kids much earlier get much more comfortable with public transport, be it the bus, be it the S-Bahn or U-Bahn, which is like, either above ground or below ground, like the tube.
Right.
You touch upon that it's more on the European, but like there's like documentaries about kids in Japan doing that like at a very young elementary level as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's more common
in other parts of the world.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think too it has to be a difference that you're not the only kid, right?
Right.
Usually your friends, and if you go to the same school, you might see
Right.
otherwise. So it's not uncommon to see school children on public transportation. In terms of the grading system, how are kids graded in Germany?
1 through 6.
Oh.
So 1 similar to A, B, C, D, and then like 6 would be failing grade.
Okay.
So in elementary and secondary it would be 1 through 6, and then when you go to the university level, usually it's between 1 through 5.
Okay.
But then they are also much more going to the percentages versus like the grades.
Okay, so I learned, that's another new thing I learned today. 1 through 6, that's
Yes.
super interesting because we have A, B, C, D, E. That's only 5.
Right.
But you're saying the failing grade is 6.
Well,
so there's a little bit more difference.
Right. So 5 and 6 would be failing grades.
Okay, 5 and 6 would be
Right.
failed. Okay, so one's failing and one's probably failing really badly, right? Okay. Interesting. Okay, I really love it. Tell us, and I know you're a very involved parent, and I want to make sure that we talk about what you are doing currently here in Anne Arundel County Public Schools to stay involved.
Right.
But what is the expectation in Germany for parents to be involved?
So I don't think we have, like, once again, this is like 30 years ago, aging myself now, that I've been to school in Germany.
Yeah.
I've not been aware of a PTA like it is here. There might be field trips and there might be parents helping out with that, or like there's an event and parents might help out with that, but it's not as involved as it is here.
Okay, so it wouldn't be common for a parent to sort of be a classroom helper or that kind of more hands-on things.
So once again, and I should have touched on about that earlier, like the big difference, and this has been one of the biggest adjustments for me mentally, is like in Germany, like from 1st through 5th, like all in elementary school, you're staying with your class. Like you're not changing teachers every year. Like your 1st grade teacher is going to be your 5th grade teacher. Same on the secondary level, all the kids have the same schedule. So like in their class. So like say on 10th grade you have like 3 classes in 10th grade. So you have 10A, 10B, 10C. But like everybody in 10A has the same schedule. Everybody and so their teacher once again in 7th grade is going to be the same one in 10th grade. It's going like, so their core subject is with the teacher, and then they're going to a special teacher for like the sciences. Another big difference in Germany is like you have sciences all throughout your career. It's not like, like in 9th grade you're doing biology and then you're not touching biology again till you're graduating.
Okay.
Because here it's like biology, then chemistry, then physics. You have biology, chemistry, and the physics all through secondary school,
Very
like every
interesting.
week.
Yeah, I do like the idea that, the teacher moves along, or the kids move along with the teacher.
Right.
And so then teachers have to be much more well-versed, right? It's not like they specialize in any particular grade level. So that made me think, what about cultural arts, music, PE,
Yes.
art? Is that offered at all different grade levels?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have your core subject like German and math, and then you would have a specialty teacher for your languages, for cultural arts, and also for your sciences.
Okay.
But it's like every week.
Every week.
Every week. And your schedule is also not the same every day. So you have on Monday you might have 6 periods, and on Tuesday you have 5, and then Wednesday you have 7.
Oh,
You know, it's like it's the same every week, but it's not the same every day.
every day. Okay. Wow. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The in terms of getting back to the parent involvement, and I learned before we sat down to talk
Mm-hmm.
that you are part of the Be Present program here in our school system. What made you decide to become involved in that?
I missed being in the schools with the pandemic. So when then the chance opened up to be back in the schools and help out, like we heard that there's like, you know, teachers need help with, you know, classroom management in
Yeah.
the school and the hallways. Anything that we can do to help them be there for our kids.
Very good.
I think that's
So I'm
important.
guessing pre-pandemic, is that when you lived in England?
We started on Fort Meade.
Okay.
We came in 2017. So
Okay.
we were at Pershing Hill
Okay.
on Fort Meade, and then we moved off base. And
Okay. So you were already a part of our
Yes.
system prior to the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I know you have children in 2 separate schools, Monarch and Annapolis High
High
School. So tell me a little bit about how you're involved in Monarch.
So in Monarch, I was able to join them for art. So like twice a week I go into the art classroom and I get to help the kids with the art projects, which is a lot of fun. And then
bet.
during lunch I get to play math games with them, which is also a lot of fun, because at first they're like, no, I don't want to do math, no. But then, like, you know, you see the light bulbs coming up and it's just
Yeah.
absolutely
Uh,
amazing to see. I love it.
I was going to say very rewarding.
Right.
And Annapolis High School, I think by the time, a lot of parents think that by the time the kids are in high school, you know, they don't need me, they're on their own. But I love that you're involved in the high school. So
Right.
tell me a little bit about what you're doing at the high school.
At the high school level, like, I can help in the library as they need me, or like, you know, in the hallways, and then also during lunch.
Okay.
And, you know, like, the sad thing is, like, you always just hear if there's something bad happening, right? It's like, oh my God, you hear about this, that, and the other. But, like, you don't hear about the good things that happen. Like, you know, that most of the kids are just fine. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're,
Great.
yeah, they're doing.
They're doing what they need to do.
Right.
Okay, beautiful. I love to hear that. So switching gears a little bit about how when I first met you, you were part of the International Parent and Community Leadership Academy that finished just a little while ago. Tell me, what made you decide to become involved in that program?
I wanted to learn more about AACPS.
Okay.
So I participated in the Family Involvement Conference that was in fall.
Yeah.
And then I started receiving the emails, and IPCLA was advertised there. So I was like,
Yeah.
at first I was like, I don't know. But then I was like, no, I want to learn more. And, like, you know, instead of me trying to figure it out by myself on the website, and, like, you know, don't want to bother teachers so much, how about I go and have people actually tell me all about it? And I'm glad I did.
Good. So with IPCLA, it is a commitment, right?
Right.
It's 7 weeks, and this year it was a little bit longer than it was before. So that is, you know, as a mom who you have volunteering commitments and you have your kids, how did you manage that time commitment? Was it something you found doable? I mean, obviously you were here all the time.
Right.
And
So, like, it was on Tuesdays. Tuesday is my day that I usually volunteer in Monarch, and I let them know that unfortunately I won't be able to participate for like the 7 weeks. And they was like, no, you go ahead and do what you need to do.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did.
Good. You know, I've learned a lot about how the German school system is, and I know that IPCLA was, you know, the main goal, like you said, is to
Right.
teach the participants about our system with the end goal of increasing parental involvement.
Right.
Was there anything that you heard or that you learned that was surprising to you?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Pick a couple.
Okay, so I did not know that there is a bilingual facilitator assigned to each school. They might not be permanently attached to each. There's not one per school, but it's available to each school.
Right.
Elementary, secondary, every school has access to it. On top of which, there's the language link, which I did not know about.
Right.
How often did I go to the website and did not know that there's a button and it changes it to any language I want it to be?
Right.
I was never aware of that, right? So that was amazing. Hearing about the pupil personnel workers and how they are attached to each school and all the resources that they can help provide for our families.
Right. Yeah, and obviously you know that our county is really trying to do a better job of reaching our international
Right.
families. And, you know, for you, obviously, you speak beautiful English. You don't need, help, with the language. But it's something that we do want to make sure to get the word out that, yes, we may not have a bilingual facilitator that speaks your language, but the team is there to be that bridge, between the community. And I can tell you, I myself have used Language Link, the phone system,
Right.
when there's a parent that calls and is like, you try in the best way you can to figure out what language it is that they speak, and then and try to get them the help that you want, or that you want for the parent. Was there something that you learned about that you specifically liked, or that you thought was interesting to you?
Cat North and Cat South, and that kids can actually finish school with certifications that help them find jobs afterwards.
Right.
Honestly, I think there needs to be more information given to the parents. I know that the kids are going to a field trip to Cat North at some stage, but that information doesn't come home as much. So I actually thought it was more of an alternative, like if kids are struggling with school, versus no, they can actually learn a job and be
like
prepared.
you said, right. And I think also that kind of speaks a little bit to that German model,
Right.
where kids do really
Right.
have that as that option to
Right.
be able to say, you know what, because college is not for everyone.
Right.
And there are kids who their strengths are, more in the technical area. So, where you spoke to the Center of Applied Technology North and South, and I understand you went to do a visit,
Right.
And
It
that
was
must have been
amazing.
great to actually see it hands-on. What do you remember out of all the different programs that you saw? Was there one that stuck out in your mind that you particularly liked? Or?
So, for example, my kid is interested in makeup, so they have a cosmetology course. That would have been great information to know, like about 2 years ago. But anyways,
yes, because of the time commitment, right?
Right.
You have to start
Right.
in 10th grade to be able to finish it. Yeah.
But like the amazing thing was like the carpentry that
Yeah.
they're building a complete house with plumbing and the walls and everything. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, there's like just the hands-on. They have a classroom and then they go and they,
And I think every one of those technical programs has a different certification. I thought for sure you were going to talk about the culinary because you talked about your experience.
Yeah.
But
No, like yes, but like I think
something different.
Right. But like it's just like because like it's literally there's enough space that they are building.
Yeah.
A building inside
another building. Yeah.
So that was it was just amazing to see. Yes, there's a baking program and also a culinary arts program.
Right. But I think for me, when I first started working here and I learned about those programs, one of the things that stood out to me is how they help the students after they graduate find jobs.
Right.
And there is many employers that are really looking for the kids that come out of those programs because they know that the education that they have is so good.
So I like the gentleman that came from the CTA program to talk about it and like his mindset, because it's what we also told our kids. It's like, if I'm asking you what you want to do in the future and you're saying college, that's not a future. That's like a step into your future. But like, where do you want to be?
Right.
It doesn't always have to be college. And sometimes it feels like this is like the more out in the open, advertised program.
Option, right? Yeah.
But it's not for everyone. Like for our kids, we say to them, like, if you want to go do the vocational thing first and then go to college, to specify further what you want to learn, and hopefully by that time you're also a little bit more mature and you know what you want to do, versus like 18 where you might not be sure and it's a lot of money involved.
Right, and you spend a lot of money in college trying to figure out what you want to do. Right, so that is the important part.
Right.
And is there something about IPCLA that you would think you want other parents to know? Like, what would you say to somebody that was kind of where you were at the beginning? Well, I'm not sure. Do I want to do this? What would you say to a parent that is thinking of do it?
Just do it. So the one thing that I was kind of not worried about, but question is because you need like the recommendation to go to the program. I was like, just maybe have schools reach more out to the international families to actually assure them to go to it, because just the amount of information that you get is amazing.
Right, and that's wonderful. I know that you had the culmination of the 7 weeks was a project.
Right.
So parents had, not to scare anyone, right, but there was a little bit of homework.
Right.
And every parent chose a project of something that they would like to see happen in the school system. So we have a few minutes. Tell me a little bit about what you decided to do.
So, once again, came in, it's like, oh, by the way, there's going to be a project at the end. I was like, what? And then it's like, oh, it's just going to be a slide. And then I ended up with like 5 slides. And so my project is like, I like as much information as possible. And sometimes, I'm sure I'm not the only one, like if this is not your first language, you don't want to bother people, you don't want to like, you don't know where to reach out. So my idea was like have like a 1-page document that each family gets like on a yearly basis, where it has basically the most important contact information. For example, like the teacher, the pupil personnel worker, bilingual facilitator, assistant principal, nurse, whichever they might need immediately, and have that like on 1 page. And like once again, if I would have gotten a paper that said like bilingual facilitator, I would have been like, what is even that? So and then they could find more information about that and hopefully get more involved in the school system if they see that, oh, they do care, they have all that information. I think AACPS, like if they could way more advertise what they actually do, because it's amazing, but like if you don't know that it's available, then it's hard to access.
And I think sometimes parents, working parents or stay-at-home parents, life is busy, and kids are busy. And I know sometimes I take a call from a parent and they're calling to say that their kid needed something, was going to be late, or they were absent or whatever, and you ask, what's your student's teacher's name? And you're right. I'm like, oh, I don't know what it is, because particularly going back to, the German model where the teacher is the same. So maybe by the 2nd year you've got the teacher's name down, but so the parents don't have to struggle to find that information. So I think that is, a great resource to have, to come up with something that parents could have, and then we help them fill it out, and then they have this basic important information at the ready. One of the other things that happened at the end is you came to the central office and there was a little recognition. So tell me a little bit about what that was like.
So that was very exciting to get that recognition, but it was also a little bit sad because it meant that the program was over.
It was over,
and so like as you said at the beginning, it's like such a commitment of 7 weeks, but then it's like, oh, that was it already. Like, because you get to know the people and you get so much more information and you want to get more involved, and then you kind of have to find your way
afterwards.
Do that.
Right. And I think, every year we have a large number, or we have very many countries and languages represented. So I think this particular year, there was a couple parents from different African countries, a couple parents from, I think it was China and Korea, and different Latin American countries. So I thought it was really, really wonderful. So we are nearly at the end of our time. Bettina, thank you.
Quick.
It was very quick. But thank you so much for coming and sharing everything you learned, and I look forward to more conversations with you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today for this edition of Global Perspectives. I'm your host, Karen McDonough. Until next time, thank you and take care.